Donald Trump's recently passed budget is the worst thing to come out of Congress in I don't know how long. This is the most unpopular legislation we have seen in either of Donald Trump's terms, and clearly he understands that. Now, of course, Trump wants to parade this bill around as some huge smashing success and have a little party for it on the 4th of July, but deep down, he knows that the cuts to Medicaid, the slashing of SNAP, all of these things will backfire on them. And that's when some bragging was happening in an insane post about what this bill does. It was forced to be deleted. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into that post and why it was deleted, I want to start with a perfect call out of this bill from AOC.
I think this is one of the saddest days in modern American history. This is the largest withdrawal and ending of health care in American history. 17 million people in our country, 17 million Americans in our country are going to lose their Medicaid. They're going to lose their ACA insurance. Small business owners are going to have their healthcare costs skyrocket, and people are going to have their SNAP and WIC cut back. People are going to go hungry. People are going to get sick on a scale unlike anything we've ever seen. And all of it is just to finance tax cuts for billionaires and the wealthiest corporations who don't even need it. I don't think we have ever seen or are prepared for how catastrophic this is set to be for a lot of people. And I think it's devastating. And they're talking about this as though it's some tax cut. Even the stuff that they're talking about, taxes on tips, no tax on tips, that's only for people, that's only up to $25,000. And if you're making less than that, you're already kind of exempt from a lot of these things in the first place. So they're giving people crumbs and they're taking away the whole loaf. And it's just a genuinely really sad day for our country.
What about Leader Jeffrey's final message, looking ahead to 2026, 2028?
Well, you know, to Leader Jeffries' message, he's right. The best thing that we can do right now is press on. And in order for us to salvage what we have and to build through, we have to chart a new course and a new path to our future. And we have to make sure that there are consequences. If you're on Medicaid, if you're on ACA, if you are on Medicare and rely on Medicaid to help with your long-term care, there has to be consequences to these votes. And we have to decide if this is just a joke or just for TV or if this is our real lives. And I hope people vote like it's our real lives.
This bill is an absolute disaster, and it couldn't be clearer what it is in service of. First and foremost, billionaires and giant corporations. We know that obviously to be the case, but really more than anything, it's just an opportunity for Donald Trump to pretend like he's getting a win. He entered his presidency talking about having won the greatest and most sweeping mandate in history, which was just a complete lie. But since then, he's done nothing because he didn't win a mandate. He actually barely won and barely built out a majority in Congress that would sustain or pass any of his legislation. And so now he's got to pretend that this bill is so great, in part to distract from one of his other failures, his trade wars, which he was rambling about right here before we get into that deleted post.
Can we expect any more of that before next week, sir?
So we have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And you can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated. I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States. And I think it'll be well received. I think it's just so many countries. And then they go specific. Let's do this, let's do that, beef, ethanol, and I'd rather just do a simple deal where you can maintain it and control it. You're going to pay a 20% or 25 or 30% tariff.
You brought in a record amount.
We're going to be sending some letters out starting probably tomorrow, maybe 10 a day, to various countries saying what they're going to pay to do business with the U.S.
Clearly, this is a man who is panicked, who is scrambling, who is trying to cover for his losses, and doesn't want anyone to actually know the truth of what is happening, which is why when a Republican member of Congress admitted the truth about this bill, he had to quickly take that post down. I want to take a look. A Twitter account, Logical Luminary, responding to Carolyn Levitt's post about Donald Trump's agenda, wrote 17 million people just lost health care, 18 million kids just lost school meals, and Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden wrote yes. Right after doing so, the congressman quickly realized how bad that post reflected on his party and deleted it. A Republican member of Congress not only confirmed that there would be 17 million people kicked off their health care, 18 million kids would be hungry because of this legislation. He didn't just confirm it, he affirmed it. He was excited. He was enthusiastic. The cruelty is always the point with these people. You got to remember that. The cruelty is always the point. They relish in it. They like to hurt the people that they represent. They look down upon them. They don't care. They think they can lie to them. They think they can treat them like they don't matter because the only people that matter to them are their billionaire donors. It is abhorrent. It is gross. And someone who feels as angry as I do, and I am sure you do as well, about this disgusting legislation was Pete Buttigieg, whose response is exactly what we need right now.
Hey, it's Pete. We're hearing that the House has passed the mega bill after it got through the Republican Senate. Now it's on its way to President Trump's desk and he's going to sign it. When he does, he will create some of the biggest tax breaks for billionaires in history, transferring even more wealth to the wealthiest Americans. And the way they're paying for it is to cut health care for working class Americans, to cut food that would go to veterans and children in this country, to shut down rural hospitals and make an entire generation worse off. And they're managing to increase the national debt and deficit while they do it. This is the decisive once and for all answer to what this president and his party are about. You know, it was fashionable for Washington commentators for a while to say that this was a new, different, populist, working class Republican Party. Now, it has been demonstrated decisively that that was all bullshit. That they're still all about making the wealthy even wealthier at the expense of working Americans. If there's any good news in all this, it's that this is still a democracy. Even now, even with all of the damage that Donald Trump has done to our republic, there is no king in this country, which means we, the people, will have the last word. And it is up to us, the American people, to respond politically and say that it is unacceptable to harm the majority of Americans to make the very wealthiest a little better off.
I really know no other way to describe this bill than to call it an abomination. That's what Josh Hawley was calling the cuts to Medicaid, which he voted for. And it's also just an admission of idiocy in the MAGA movement, how much these people have fallen for it again and again, not just the voters who elected Donald Trump to lower cost, with the inverse now happening. But you see someone like Lisa Murkowski in the Senate who said, well, I'm going to vote for this bill, but I don't like it that much. I'm really trying to rationalize. I think the House is going to send it back to the Senate. You know, some markups, some tweaks, and I'm going to have another go at it. Are you stupid? It's Donald Trump. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who's hurt. And this idea that Republicans got these backroom deals like Lisa Murkowski did to cut her state out of the bill, right? Alaska's not going to be affected by the bad parts of this bill. And for her to take that home and be like, yeah, look at this win. We passed a bill that was so bad, I didn't want you to be affected by it. Congratulations, Alaska. Might you then consider not voting for the bill at all? I know you're elected to represent your state, but we are, as many have said, United States. Do you not care? Clearly they don't. They like to be cruel. This is all just a gambit for Donald Trump. It's really what it is for Donald Trump and for the billionaires. And I have to keep going back to this clip because he was so spot on. Jim McGovern right here.
It's recognized. Mr. Speaker, this process, an abomination. Legislative malpractice. Final text of this bill came out less than 24 hours ago. We met in committee an hour after it was posted. And now we're here considering a rule that only allows for 1 hour of debate. This bill is within the jurisdiction of 12 different committees. 1 hour is ridiculous. And every minute we're finding out new things that were snuck into the bill. A tax cut for whalers, and now we're learning about a gambling tax. Republican leadership and the White House are jamming this bill down our throats. And for what? We are not on a deadline, no looming crisis. We're here because Donald Trump wants a 4th of July party to celebrate this garbage bill. He wants fireworks and flags and cameras, not for this country, but for himself. So he says, close your ears, close your eyes, and vote for this bill. Honestly, sounds more like a cult than a Congress to me. Some Republicans promised their voters no cuts to Medicaid, no new debt. Now they're flipping faster than pancakes at a campaign breakfast. The House passed it, hoping the Senate would kill it. The Senate passed it, hoping the House would grow a spine. Everyone is playing a game of legislative chicken, voting for a bad bill and thinking the other chamber will be the one to fix it. This is nuts. And Trump says, have fun and vote yay. Have fun gutting Medicaid? Vote yay on taking away food from poor families? Are you serious? This bill is catastrophic. It is not policy, it is punishment. Let's talk facts. It slashes Medicaid, cuts Medicare, dismantles the ACA. It shutters rural hospitals, closes nursing homes, wipes out health centers. It takes food off kitchen tables, throws clean energy workers out of jobs, spikes utility bills. And why? So billionaires and oil companies can cash in. Big oil gets handouts, billionaires get tax breaks, working families get scraps, if that. Jeff Bezos just had a $50 million wedding in Venice, and they want to give him another tax break. Meanwhile, families making under $50,000 a year, well, they get less than $1 a day in tax cuts. You can't even buy a cup of coffee with that. And the cost, over $3 trillion added to the debt and a $5 trillion debt ceiling raise. Brought to you by the very people who won't shut up about so-called fiscal responsibility. This isn't tax reform to relieve the middle and working class. It is a robbery that will result in the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich our country has ever seen.
It's just so Donald Trump can throw a party. That's why they rushed it through. That's why they crammed it through. That's why they didn't even read the damn thing. Because his birthday was such a flop, he had to do a part 2, an electric boogaloo. And look where we are now. It's disgusting. They're embarrassing, and we got to keep calling them out. This should be the end of the political career of everyone who voted for this thing. We're going to work to make that happen on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.